Hollywood stars have been known to regularly be involved in some of the biggest ever scandals in tabloid history, and perhaps none more so than the iconic actress Lana Turner. In the 1940s and 1950s, Lana Turner was one of the most famous actresses in the world and at the forefront of Golden Age Hollywood. Known mainly in film for her immense beauty and on-screen charisma, Turner's personal life was marked by scandal and tragedy. And at the center of Lana Turner's Hollywood legacy are the shocking and controversial events that happened on April 4, 1958, and all but ended Lana's sparkling career. That night at Lana Turner's Beverly Hills home, her mobster boyfriend Johnny Stompanato was deleted when Lana Turner's daughter, 14-year-old Cheryl Karine, stabbed him fatally with a kitchen knife. This is the story of the scandal that rocked Hollywood, of a woman who had once hoped to become a nun, but became a movie star instead, and then got embroiled in a salacious murder trial. But to fully understand how these events came to be, we will need to start at the very beginning, from Lana Turner's rootless, hardscrabble childhood, the trauma of the 1930s unsolved homicide of her charming gambler father Virgil, and the many obsessive love affairs that eventually led her into the arms of her abusive gangster boyfriend Johnny Stompanato. Lana Turner was born Julia Jean Turner on the 8th of February in 1921 to a 16-year-old mother named Mildred Frances Cowan, and a 26-year-old miner named John Virgil Turner, a miner from Montgomery, Alabama. When John Virgil met Mildred Frances, she was only 14 years old while he was 24. Mildred's father objected to the courtship, but she and John eloped and moved west before settling in Idaho. The family lived in Burke, Idaho at the time of Turner's birth, and relocated to nearby Wallace in 1925, where her father opened a dry cleaning service and worked in the local silver mines. As a child, Turner was known to family and friends as Judy. She expressed interest in performance at a young age, performing short dance routines at her father's Elks chapter in Wallace. When she was only 3 years old, she even performed an impromptu dance routine at a charity fashion show in which her mother was modeling. The Turner family struggled financially and relocated to San Francisco when she was 6 years old, after which her parents separated. On December 14, 1930, her father won some money at a traveling craps game. He stuffed his winnings in his sock and headed home, but tragically he was later found bludgeoned to permanent sleep on the corner of Minnesota and Mariposa streets, on the edge of San Francisco's Potrero Hill and the Dogpatch district, with his left shoe and sock missing. His robbery and homicide were never solved, and his permanent sleep had a profound effect on Turner. She later said, "I know that my father's sweetness and gaiety, his warmth and his tragedy, have never been far from me. That and a sense of loss and of growing up too fast." Following her father's permanent sleo, Turner's mother, hairdresser Mildred, tried valiantly to raise her daughter all by herself, and worked 80 hours per week as a beautician to support herself and her daughter. Although sometimes money would become so tight, they would have to survive on crackers and milk alone. When things became a little too unmanageable, Turner would sometimes live with family, friends and acquaintances so that her impoverished mother could save money. During one such time, Turner lived for a period in Modesto with a family who physically abused her and treated her like a servant. When Turner's mother found out about the abuse, she demonstrated admirable strength and fortitude as a mother and immediately pulled her away from the family and its various abuses. Turner would then go live with the Hislops, a Catholic family with whom her mother had temporarily boarded her. While baptized a Protestant at birth, Turner regularly attended Mass with the Hislops. In almost no time at all, she became entranced and thrilled by the ritual practices of the church, and when she was 7, her mother allowed her to formally convert to Roman Catholicism. Turner was so into her new faith, she subsequently attended the convent of the Immaculate Conception in San Francisco, hoping to become a nun, but when she found out she would have to cut her hair, she quickly changed her mind. In the mid-1930s, Turner's mother developed respiratory problems and was advised by her doctor to move to a drier climate, so in 1936, the duo took a mud-covered jalopy to Depression-era Los Angeles. It would be there that Turner would be discovered and start her rise to fame, even though she didn't know it yet. For a while, the story behind her discovery was murky at best. One version of the story erroneously has her discovery occurring at Schwab's pharmacy, But this story was the result of a reporting error that began circulating in articles published by columnist Sydney Skolsky, but eventually Turner set the record straight. By Turner's own account, she was a junior in high school and had decided to skip class one day, and this one decision made all the difference. She purchased a Coca-Cola at the local malt shop, and that's where she caught the eye of William R. Wilkerson, the publisher of The Hollywood Reporter. Although she was still underage, Lana's curvaceous physique piqued Wilkerson's interest. And that's when he approached her with a very important question. With her mature figure and sweet face, Turner had starlet written all over her. But when Wilkerson asked her if she was interested in becoming an actress, she replied, "I'll have to ask my mother first." This got the ball rolling, and once it started, it didn't stop. Her big break lay just around the corner. After all, Turner had something no other girl in the business had. In 1936, director Mervyn LeRoy was on the hunt for an actress that could be both seductive and innocent. He needed the perfect girl for his film They Won't Forget, but everyone he auditioned fell short. The casting director at Warner Brothers said it was an impossible task. And then, after seeing 50 disappointing girls, LeRoy locked eyes with Turner. LeRoy's first impression of Turner was unforgettable. He said of her, "Her hair was dark, messy, uncombed. Her hands were trembling so she could barely read the script. But she had that sexy clean quality I wanted. There was something smoldering underneath that innocent face." However, there was one thing about this fresh newcomer that he did not like at all, and that was her name. LeRoy did not like the name Julia Jean Turner, so he suggested the name Lana. It was a significant change that ushered in a new chapter of her life. Taken under LeRoy's wing as his protégée, Lana Turner jumped headfirst into the dangerous world of Hollywood. When Lana went to see a sneak preview of They Won't Forget, she couldn't believe her eyes. She'd never been so aware of her own body in her life, and it embarrassed her deeply. The audience, however, had a very different reaction. Lana Turner became an overnight sensation. Her minor role as a beautiful homicide victim who wiggles down the street suggestively in a tight sweater in the movie They Won't Forget earned her the lusty nickname, the Sweater Girl, for her noticeably shapely bust. Unfortunately, the young girl absolutely detested the moniker. Although having now acquired an understanding of the power of her own beauty, it also left her in the crosshairs of those who desired her. By 1939, Lana was well on her way to becoming a huge star. Even Louis B. Mayer believed her to be the next Jean Harlow. So far, her heart had been safe from the perils of Hollywood's romantic minefield, but not for long. When Lana met 30-year-old attorney Gregson Boutzer, she naively believed that he was her Prince Charming. She couldn't have been more wrong. On paper, Greg Boutzer seemed perfect. He was charming, respectful, and successful. Heck, even Louis B. Mayer approved of this relationship. He swept Lana off her feet. As a couple, they became inseparable, attending premieres, nightclubs, and private parties. According to Lana, she'd never been intimate with anyone until meeting Boutzer. But once she slipped beneath the sheets with him, everything turned sour. When it came to Boutzer, Lana saw a wedding in her future. After sleeping with him, she fully expected him to propose, but all she received was his silence. Still, the actress didn't push the subject, as being single made her far more valuable to MGM. Lana kept seeing her beau while working hard on new projects, but then the other shoe dropped. According to Lana Turner's biography, her relationship with Greg Boutzer ended because of a terrible betrayal. Apparently, she got a pointed call from the actress Joan Crawford, asking her over for tea. Because Joan was such a respected actress, Lana felt flattered. But this was not a friendly little tea party. Joan was about to drop an unforgivable bombshell. Joan confessed something awful to Lana. She admitted that she was also seeing Boutzer and that she was the one he really loved. Joan even advised her to break the relationship off. Lana fled the meeting feeling utterly humiliated and immediately tracked down Boutzer to interrogate him. But though he denied the accusations, she saw right through his lies, and there was just no coming back from the debacle. Her trust in him had shattered. After this revelation, Boutzer slowly faded out of Lana's life, and she returned to the nightclub scene to play the field. But though she dated around, she kept one steady eye on her career. Bolstered by her success, Lana wielded her newfound confidence expertly. She even demanded her own dressing room from Mayer. Then when she landed a part in Dancing Coed, he gave her top billing. It was on the set of Dancing Coed that Lana met her future husband Artie Shaw. When Lana Turner met bandleader Artie Shaw, it certainly wasn't love at first sight. In fact, she was completely turned off by his massive ego and only crossed paths with him during the dance routines. You see, Shaw thought very little of Hollywood but very highly of himself. This left a bad taste in Lana's mouth. She wasn't the least bit attracted to him, but all that was about to change. 6 months after Dancing Coed wrapped, fate brought these two unlikely characters together again. Invited to the set of Two Girls on Broadway, Shaw stumbled across Lana rehearsing. She was resplendent, dressed in a provocative green dress. At first he didn't recognize her, and then she said, "Remember me?" Lana turned the tables on Shaw, shocking him with her eager flirtations. But this relationship could only end one way, and that was badly. Lana was a hopeless romantic and threw herself into passionate and reckless trysts. On her first date with Shaw, she became entirely vulnerable and confessed her deepest desire: to marry and have children. As the date progressed, her opinion of Shaw began to swing in the other direction. Swept up in the moment, and still bitter about her ex-boyfriend's betrayal, Lana made a horrible decision. She agreed to marry Artie Shaw after only one date, even though she was still just a teenager. They ran away to Las Vegas together and eloped. Though Shaw was almost a decade older than the ingenue, Lana said she was stirred by his eloquence. Pretty quickly she realized that this was not the happily ever after she'd dreamed of. The first red flag was the wedding night. What was supposed to be the most romantic evening of Lana's life turned out to be an underwhelming flop. And then came the fury of MGM, particularly Louis B. Mayer. He only gave her 3 days to enjoy her honeymoon and demanded that she not get pregnant. The studio was completely shaken by her impulsive behavior. But everything that could possibly go wrong did. Lana's hasty marriage dissolved as quickly as it came. It only lasted a mere 4 months, but it left her with permanent emotional scars. Shaw himself admitted he was a very difficult man, but Lana's confessions about the union were even more sinister. According to her, he mistreated her like an untutored blonde savage, and took no pains to conceal his opinion. But that wasn't all. To her dismay, Lana discovered that her husband had a red-hot temper and often threw tantrums. He also controlled her every move and expected her to be an obedient housewife. Lana had to keep everything clean, cook his meals, and read whatever literature he provided her. At this point, the actress knew she'd made a colossal mistake. The horrors Lana faced at the hands of her brutish husband were heartbreaking. She once said that he threw a meal she'd cooked onto the floor and screamed, "Clean it up." The worst part, he was in front of guests. With the condescension and humiliation mounting, Lana needed one final push to break out of this gilded cage forever. In June 1940, Artie Shaw demanded that Lana Turner shine his shoes despite the early call time. That was it. The final straw. She got on the phone and looked into getting a divorce. But though Lana escaped her twisted marriage, one more tragic surprise awaited her. In the spring of 1940, after the pair had been separated for months, she discovered that she was pregnant. Lana's pregnancy was disastrous news. Her star was just on the rise, and stuffy studio executives were apoplectic at the thought of a breaking scandal. Producers quickly hushed up the pregnancy, told the press Turner had been hospitalized for the classic exhaustion excuse, and had her pregnancy terminated, and unfortunately for her, this would not be the last time she would be unable to carry a pregnancy to full term. When it came to matters of the heart, Lana had been through the ringer. But luckily things were looking up, especially her career. In 1941 she starred in a film that really got her interested in acting, Ziegfeld Girl. She even found a lifelong friend in her co-star Judy Garland. In fact, they became so close they lived next to one another in the 1950s. However, maintaining friendships with her male co-stars became increasingly difficult. Cast in the Western movie Honky Tonk, Lana Turner starred opposite the hunky Clark Gable. Their chemistry sparked rumors about a secret affair. The following year, this scandalous gossip continued to swirl when the actors came together again for the movie Somewhere I'll Find You. But right in the middle of the production, tragedy struck. Lana was shocked to hear of the sudden passing of Clark Gable's wife, Carol Lombard, in a plane crash. It put filming on hold for many weeks, and yet, despite Gable's devastation, the press didn't cut him a break. Rumors claimed that he and Lana were a romantic item. But nothing could be further from the truth. Lana denied ever being involved with Gable and later stated, "I adored Mr. Gable, but we were just friends. When 6 o'clock came, he went his way and I went mine." For Lana, navigating her career and friendships was easy, but when it came to falling in love, she was a disaster waiting to happen. Her next beau was no exception. In 1942, Lana went out to the Macambo nightclub and met a man she was instantly attracted to. Stephen Crane was tall and handsome, and his voice sounded like money. He said he was a tobacco heir with many business prospects. To Lana, he seemed perfect. With blinders on, she made another reckless decision in the name of love. Lana should have realized that Crane wasn't all that he claimed to be. His tiny apartment must have been a big fat clue, and yet she ignored all the warning signs. Even Louis B. Mayer stepped in, informing her that Crane had sunk into the underworld and had ties with gangsters. Being associated with him had the power to destroy Lana's shiny reputation. But did she listen to reason? Absolutely not. 3 weeks after their worrisome meet-cute, Crane proposed to Lana. This romance seemed to be a chilling mirror of her first. By July 1942, they'd eloped in Las Vegas. Again, it wasn't long before Lana's new husband began to show his true colors. Crane was a liar, but it would take 4 months of earth-shattering disappointments for Lana to see him for the liar he was. Although he'd presented himself as a wealthy man, Lana began to wonder why her husband rarely contributed to the household expenses. Of course, as an independent woman, she didn't need his money, but it still bothered her when he consistently opted out of paying for the dinner bill. But that wasn't even his worst transgression. Lana was absolutely furious when she discovered that Crane was actually already married. She split the moment she found out his previous divorce hadn't been finalized. But there was more. Just like her marriage with Shaw, Lana discovered she was pregnant after the separation. This time, however, she made a very different decision. Determined to keep the baby, Lana decided to remarry Crane, but fate wasn't on her side. The pregnancy was incredibly difficult and dangerous, and doctors urged her to terminate. Lana stubbornly refused and carried the baby to term. In July 1943, she gave birth to her daughter Cheryl. But there was something terribly wrong with the baby. Because baby Cheryl's blood was incompatible with her mother's Rh factor blood. She was born with a near-fatal hemolytic disease. Luckily, the baby pulled through. Lana's marriage, on the other hand, did not. A year later, Lana divorced Crane a second time, his gambling and unemployment an undeniable factor. As a new mother and single once again, this seemed like a great chance for Lana to start over. But the decade only went from bad to worse. Although Lana expanded her repertoire and took on more dramatic roles, her personal life plummeted to new lows. She'd fallen deeply in love with the married actor Tyrone Power, but to her dismay, he didn't reciprocate her feelings as ardently. Because of Power's split devotions, the affair was doomed from the beginning. Throughout her numerous marriages and dalliances, Lana Turner only considered one man the love of her life, actor Tyrone Power. Together they made jaws drop, Lana with her icy blonde locks and blue eyes, and Tyrone with his dark features. Physically, they complemented one another perfectly. But it was never meant to be. When Lana became pregnant with Power's child, she opted for an abortion. The relationship never had the chance to take flight, so Lana left broken-hearted. Allegedly, during this time, the actress also entertained affairs with other hotshots like Frank Sinatra and Howard Hughes. So, unsurprisingly, the man she eventually landed on was not husband material. Lana's next lover was the millionaire socialite Henry J. Bob Topping Jr. Again, she didn't waste any time, and after Topping dropped a sizable diamond ring in her martini glass, she married again. But this wedding began to interfere with her career in a shocking way. Due to her marital celebration, Lana arrived on the set of The Three Musketeers 3 days late. And after the film wrapped, Louis B. Mayer put her contract on temporary suspension. But that wasn't all. Lana discovered she was pregnant again, but this time, the nightmare she dodged during her first pregnancy came back to haunt her. In early 1949, Lana Turner's worst fears became a reality. She went into premature labor, and tragically the baby was stillborn. Truth be told, Lana began to unravel, and once the 1950s hit, the actress' life spun out of control. Her finances were a mess, she faced bankruptcy, and she suffered from chronic depression. And that's when poor Lana reached her breaking point. Drowning in her personal demons, Lana tried to take her own life. She locked the bathroom doors and ran a blade across her wrists. This could have been the end for the distraught actress, but fate stepped in. Her business manager came to her rescue, breaking down the door and calling for help. But unbelievably, this was only the beginning of the nightmare. Less than a year after divorcing Bob Topping, Lana had another husband on her arm, actor Lex Barker. But over the next few years her career faltered and then imploded. MGM terminated her contract at the start of 1956, an omen for what would be a horrifying year. Pregnant again, Lana felt hopeful when she made it to her 7th month. But it only ended in tears. Again, Lana lost her baby. Sadly, Lana's most recent marriage to Lex Barker had a twisted dark side. Because of him, her only surviving child lived out a real-life horror story. Forced by Lana Turner to obey whoever her latest love interest happened to be, the benevolently neglected Cheryl was an ideal target for predators. In her biography, Cheryl Crane recounted in horrific and vivid detail how the Tarzan actor Lex Barker violently and repeatedly violated her throughout his marriage to her mother. Encouraged by school friends, Cheryl finally told her mother Lana, who, like the strong woman she was, immediately went home and held a firearm to a sleeping Barker's head. Enraged, Lana confronted Barker, threatening him and telling him to get out of the house. Weeks after kicking out her daughter's abuser, Lana and Cheryl were accosted by a frantic Barker in a parking lot, who grabbed Lana Turner's steering wheel. But Lana was not intimidated. With true film noir stealth, she said and did the following: "I'm pulling out of here, and if you don't let go, I will run you over." She gave him a moment to comply, but when he dared to glance in Cheryl's direction with narrowed eyes, she hit the gas, dragging Barker along several feet until a grab of the brake sent him tumbling to the asphalt. Lana seemed like a magnet for danger, but the worst was yet to come. In 1957, Turner started getting phone calls and flowers from a mysterious gentleman while on the set of her new film The Lady Takes a Flyer. He went by the name John Steele, and Lana Turner didn't even know how he got her phone number. Nonetheless, he pursued her relentlessly and showered her with gifts, and she eventually gave in and started dating him. Sadly, it seemed that every time Lana Turner reached a high in her life, a crushing low was just around the corner. Soon after becoming involved with this mysterious John Steele, Lana found out from a friend who he really was: the dangerous mafioso Johnny Stompanato. Though she tried to break off the affair after the discovery, it was just the beginning of an aggressive and tumultuous relationship. Stompanato was Lana's most disturbing love interest to date. On one infamous occasion, he tried to visit her on the London set of Another Time, Another Place. But their happy reunion quickly turned terrifying after Lana told Stompanato he couldn't visit her on set. He started a fight and tried to choke her. That was when Lana put her foot down. Lana and her makeup artist called the authorities in an attempt to have Stompanato kicked out of the country. Unfortunately, he discovered her sneaky plan. He came barging onto the set with a firearm in hand, threatening both Lana and her co-star Sean Connery. Connery, however, proved that he wasn't just a badass on screen, he was a badass in real life as well, and did not back down. He grabbed and twisted the aggressor's wrist around, causing him to flee the scene. But this was only a taste of Johnny Stompanato's awful jealousy. Everything went south in the spring of 1958. Lana angered Stompanato once again for not inviting him to the Academy Awards. Looking to punish her, he waited for her to return home from the ceremony. That's when he got physical with her. Stompanato was a monster Lana couldn't escape, that is, until the fateful night of April 4, 1958. On that night, the most infamous scandal of Lana's career took place. Stompanato came over to Turner's Beverly Hills home and started an argument where he threatened to end the life of her mother, her 14-year-old daughter Cheryl, and herself. This, however, would be the last mistaken threat he ever made. Cheryl had been listening to the fight from the next room and, terrified that he would make good on his word, grabbed a kitchen blade. The blade ended up lodged in Stompanato's stomach, and he passed on Lana's bedroom floor. According to Lana's testimony, she didn't realize the horror of the situation right away. At first, she thought that Cheryl had simply punched him. However, once Stompanato collapsed, his blood blossoming on his shirt, she knew it was serious. But though Stompanato was gone, the consequences of this gruesome night were explosive. After Stompanato's shocking demise, Turner and Cheryl were instantly embroiled in a media frenzy. The press turned the ensuing court case into a chaotic three-ring circus, with over 100 reporters showing up to the inquest. But at last it had something of a happy ending. After just 25 minutes of deliberation, the jury determined it was justifiable homicide, and Cheryl was let go. However, some historians believe there's more to the story. In historian Darwin Porter's book Lana Turner, Heart and Diamonds Take All, he reveals some chilling evidence about Stompanato's passing. According to Porter, Detective Otash was a key player in the case, and before his passing in 1992 he made a wild confession. Apparently it was Lana herself and not Cheryl that had ended Stompanato's life. Allegedly, Detective Otash admitted that he and Lana's lawyer, Jerry Geisler, rearranged the crime scene. Geisler insisted that Cheryl take the blame because minors didn't have to go to trial. According to Porter's book, Otash said, "I was the one who wiped the fingerprints off the knife in Lana's bathroom sink. I was a naughty boy doing what I'm not supposed to do." Oh, but the shocking claims don't end there. According to this theory and Otash's confession, Lana had grabbed a blade after finding Stompanato in bed with her daughter. She believed he'd seduced Cheryl and sought vengeance. Perhaps nobody will ever know the truth about that dark day, but one thing's for certain. Lana had a difficult time coping. Just like with the loss of her father all those years ago, the tragedy deeply affected Turner. On the set of her next film, Imitation of Life, she was often so distraught that she couldn't act. She suffered frequent panic attacks and sobbed for 3 full days after filming the fatal scene of one of the characters. Lana Turner had led a very difficult and often traumatic life, but what finally did her in, surprisingly, was her own bad habits. She drank and smoked heavily throughout her career. Although she managed to kick drinking, her penchant for lighting up came around to bite her. In 1992, doctors diagnosed the aging actress with throat cancer. She went into remission after several rounds of treatment, but it didn't last for long. In the summer of 1994, Lana's cancer returned with a vengeance, and this time, there was no hope. At the age of 74, Lana Turner's wild ride came to an end. Her tragic passing came as a shock to her daughter Cheryl, who had always seen her mother as a very robust woman, and was deeply heartbroken. Lana Turner's remains were cremated and given to Cheryl. Multiple accounts have the ashes still in Cheryl's possession, while other accounts say the ashes were scattered in the ocean, but which ocean and location varies by the sources. But one thing is for sure when it comes to Lana Turner, she left behind a legacy of both fame and infamy with her iconic cinema roles and the various shocking scandals she found herself in the middle of. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to support the channel by subscribing and checking out the 2 videos showing on the screen right now.